2 years ago, something inexplicable happened to me. My mother and I were planning to renovate and, leaving the apartment available for guests from overseas, went to stay for a week at my mother's sister's and her son's unremarkable 2-bedroom. They generously agreed to give us one of the rooms. The oddness began on the first night. While I was half asleep, I heard some rustling in the kitchen, as if someone was shuffling on the floor, opening and closing cabinets. Well, it's unlikely that any of the relatives are making a nighttime journey, I thought at the time. Another minute passed, then another. I nearly fell asleep. And then I literally jumped up on the bed. The lamp on the nightstand next to my bed fell to the floor with a crash. Mom woke up too. We examined the heavy object, and Mom assumed that I had accidentally knocked it down in my sleep and went back to the couch. And I lay there with my eyes open for a long time, sure that I had nothing to do with it and going over the possible reasons for the fall of the lamp. The next few nights passed relatively quietly. The next oddity started on the morning of the third day. I was going to meet a friend. No one was home. Everyone was at work. And so, when I had already dressed and put on my shoes in the hallway, my eyes fell on the nightstand. The keys to my apartment, given to me for a week, were always there, but they weren't there now. I spent the next half hour searching for the missing man. I searched the pockets of all the jackets, including my aunt's and brother's, looked in all the closets and drawers in the hallway and around them. Then I moved into the room and repeated the same procedure there. To no avail. The keys had fallen under the floor. I didn't dare leave the house with the door unlocked. I called a friend and canceled the meeting. I spent the whole day procrastinating and only remembered to catch up on current affairs in the evening when the whole family gathered for dinner. I haven't been able to find my keys all day today. Did anyone happen to bring them with them? My mother looked up at me in surprise. They're always on the nightstand in the hallway. They were always there, and today they fell through the ground, I said frustratedly, remembering my fruitless search. How could they be? I saw them when I came home from work. Mom got up from her seat before finishing dinner and went into the hallway. I ran after her. The keys were in their most prominent place. Mom smiled and I widened my eyes. They weren't here. How can I explain that to my mom? The thought flashed through my mind that one of my relatives had pulled a prank on me and put the keys here when they came home, but I immediately dismissed it. What kind of stupid pranks are these? And I know my family very well. Even if someone had accidentally taken my keys, they would have confessed to it. A day later, I spent the night alone in my relative's apartment. My mom and aunt had gone to a sleepover, and my brother was working the night shift. I couldn't sleep for a long time, watching some TV show. And when I finally began to fall asleep, I heard a familiar shuffling gait in the kitchen and the sound of cabinets opening. I immediately got out of bed and headed for the kitchen. The moment I appeared in the doorway, a jar of spices fell from the top cabinet. The spices, ground into flour, seemed to shower the person standing in the kitchen. Only for a moment did I see the silhouette of a hunched old man. I cried out, turned on the light, and the vision vanished, dissipated with the spices. I never managed to sleep that night. The next day, I told my family about everything. My mother reassured me, saying that it was all just a coincidence, and the silhouette in the kitchen was just a play of light and shadow or something like that. My aunt listened to me in silence, deep in thought. Then she spoke. There is something wrong with this apartment. We also sometimes hear foreign sounds, but we attribute them to old ventilation, thin walls, or, it seemed, an old man, you say? After buying this apartment, I asked the neighbors about the previous owners. There was a lonely old man who lived here. He had both children and grandchildren, but according to neighbors, none of them would take care of the old man or even come to visit once. The old man often cursed at his offspring and kept saying that he would never give the apartment to anyone, that he would always manage it, even after his death. Auntie was silent. We all looked at each other. No one knew what to say. The renovation of our apartment was over and we returned home. After a while, my aunt invited the psychic to clean the place. She said it was calmer. I guess